Welcome back to the Chosen Life podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan A. Hacohen, author of the Bible 3.0, The Six Commandments of the Chosen Life, as well as moonlighting as a real estate corporate lawyer partner at Kormans LP. With me today, my brother from a different mother. I look in the mirror and I think to myself, if I was younger, I was taller, and I was better looking, I would be this guy. Kasra Kooshafar is back for another week. Kaz, thank you for bringing the love.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you again for having me. I'm very excited to hear your perspectives on everything and see where this goes.
Well, first of all, to reach you, right? Kaz with love on Instagram, and the website is kaswithlove.com. And buddy, you're spreading so much love and positivity into this world. So I gotta ask you, coming from the womb to where you are today, were you always this positive, this focused, like spiritual in life, or did it come at a different point in your journey?
That's a really interesting question. I think from very early on, I can only say this in hindsight, but from very early on, I realized I knew exactly what I wanted and what I needed. But there's this thing called life that also happens to us. And I think that really took me on this path of places I didn't want to be. And I think the point that really changed everything was this part where I think I was around 25-ish. Got out of like an 8-year relationship with my ex. And I realized that coming from high school to my mid and almost late 20s, I knew absolutely nothing. And all the things that I thought I knew, whether that was about life, about friendship, about love, about the self, it was all just bits and pieces. And that's, I think, where like the conscious journey began. And it's almost crazy to think that I've even gone to this point. And I think I should give myself more credit sometimes, because it's so easy to think there's so much left to do. There's, so much more to become. But sometimes you do have to take those moments to really look at the gravity of what I've done and to be proud of that. So it hasn't always been love, but I'm glad that it is now.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I was thinking about something you said last week, and I purposely stopped the episode at the end there because I said we got to unpack this a little further.
Mm-hmm.
And again, deep realizations. Again, the book Realizations, right?
Yes.
And so I'm having a lot of realizations for the past 3 weeks, and things that I didn't really see the metaphors and see the journeys and why they were. And you were talking about something along the line about when you write a book and then you come to your ending and the book is complete.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote my book much the way I live my life. And what happened was I was about halfway through the book, and that's when I wrote the ending. So people who are reading my book,
You wrote it in the middle.
I actually wrote that chapter in the middle. And how that one came about for me was I talked about it at our spiritual book festival where we had met,
Mm-hmm.
and over at Alternity Cafe. And I had mentioned that I had written 2 chapters the week before. So I was very excited. I'm halfway through the book, wrote 2 chapters, feeling good about it. Met with the editor, went through another chapter. And as we're finishing, she says to me, "Oh, by the way, I can't find your 2 chapters, the ones you said you wrote last week." I said, "What are you talking about? They're there. They're in the drive." So that's okay. You have a backup, right? I'm like, "I don't have no backup. You guys back up." She goes, "But it's got to be in there for a certain amount of time for it to back up. It doesn't back up instantly." I'm like, I'm starting to hyperventilate. I'm like, no, those chapters have to be there. You don't understand. And we go searching in this Google Drive, and there's no freaking chapters. And I'm thinking. And I'm realizing, wait, if I create the chapter originally, it doesn't save, even though it's your folder, it saves in my Google Drive, not in your Google Drive. Okay, so let's go check my Google Drive. I checked my Google Drive, not to be there. And then I said, oh, wait, my Google Drive was almost full. So I emptied a bunch of stuff and deleted the trash box.
Good job.
I'm going to contact Google and maybe they can recover it. So I contact Google. I finish the meeting, contact Google right away. They tell me, as long as you, here's something for all to know, actually.
Yeah, I'm curious now.
So you delete permanently. Well, nothing's permanent, as they say. And Google says, as long as you deleted the permanent in the last 30 days, we should be able to recover it. Really? So it's still somewhere out there. Good to know. They said, we'll get back to you in the next 48 hours. Well, they got back to me in the next 48 minutes, and those chapters were born and alive and still there. So I was so relieved, Kaz, that night I got so inspired. I got really mad. I said, if these chapters are deleted, I'm never going to be able to recreate them again. And I'm not writing this week because I'm too upset. I can't deal with it. Well, I got so inspired that night that the next morning I woke up and I wrote the end of the book. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Funny thing about the end of the book, that's the only chapter that had no real comments, anything from the editors. And when I recorded the audiobook, I got it in one take. So I wrote the end of the book in the middle of the book. Kind of feel like I lived my life, the ending already, in the middle of my life. And now I'm going through everything, but knowing where the ending's already at. Isn't that kind of funny?
That's an interesting feeling. It's almost like knowing, it's funny because sometimes I'll think, let's say I'm, whatever age I'm at, I'm on my deathbed, things are ticking away. I only have minutes compared to days. How would I feel then when I look back on my life? And I try to live every day like I'm looking back from that moment and what I would have wished I could have done. And that's an interesting way to look at it, right? The ending in the middle. Because I remember for this one, that ending, there are actual entries in it throughout the middle where I literally say, I don't know how this will end. The ending literally came at the very end of 365 days. And I contemplated it throughout the entire year. Every day as I wrote, I thought to myself, even if I didn't write it, how will it end? I thought, okay, what if this journey brings me this financial success that I've been craving for? What if it brings recognition? And all these external things started to pop up. And every time it popped up, I thought, they're just not good enough. It needs to be this thing that hits so home that it like shatters the house that it's in and it rebuilds a stronger one, And that realization came. There's a park on Yonge and York Mills.
In Toronto, Ontario, Canada, for you American folks.
It's called like I think they changed it. It used to be called John Miller Park. Now it's like
John Mayer Park?
Something like that. No, I don't think it's
not yet.
No. It's like Jolly Miller now, something like that.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting park because it's very open concept. There's nothing really there except this structure that's like a really pretty architectural structure. And I remember sitting there writing the very last entry thinking, well, here it is. How will it end? I need to finally answer the question. And I don't know if I should give that answer away. Do you think I should?
No.
No?
Maybe a hint. Can we get a hint?
The hint is that an ending doesn't exist. Because like you said last week, now that the book has been written, it's time to actually go live it. Right? It's time to actually go live. And not obviously in those words and not exactly that, but that's essentially the realization that I came to at the very end. And I think my endings are a little bit different than yours.
Can you go to the beginning? Did you see the chapter list there?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just scroll over to the last chapter there. The title. What's the title of the last chapter?
Enlightenment. That one? Oh, no.
No, the last chapter.
The meaning of life.
The last chapter, which I wrote the middle, the end, the meaning of life. I figure you're going to read the Bible 3.0. You want enlightenment because it's in the enlightenment section. It's all about the meaning of life. So I'll give you a bit of a hint about the meaning of life. How about that?
All right, let's do it.
All right, because we're actually right in line on this one.
Okay.
So you're asking me off air, how do you let go? Like, what is your aha moment? How did you let go? I'll tell you exactly how.
Okay.
So back to, 14, 15 years ago, gave up blogging, go to yoga, gonna figure things out. Just gonna go to yoga every day and it'll hit me, right? So one day I'm in Shavasana and waiting for the class to start. I'm lying there. And this is one of two moments of my ahas. So this is moment number one. Moment number one, I'm lying there. And I realize, oh man, I'm gonna lie like this in a coffin one day. I'm actually going to die. It's going to be over for me. I will no longer exist. This is all meaningless because I'm actually going to die. And what do? I start bawling my eyes out. I start freaking out like a madman. And because I didn't actually think of that. Like, I'm young, I'm going to live forever. I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, not a big deal. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm actually going to die. What am I going to do? Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
And that started the path. That really started the path. And then going to Bali and meeting with the wise man Katut from the movie Eat, Pray, Love. So I got to see him while he was alive.
Right. That's cool.
And so I met the wise man in Bali, and I also met the fortune teller at our chosen book festival, right? The spiritual chosen book festival. So I go to meet the fortune teller at our festival, which was last year. And I said, I only have really one question for you. And it's, how long am I going to live for? Out of curiosity. I'm going to tell you, I met somebody else. They already told me their answer. So I'm not going to tell you what they said. Tell me your answer. So both fortune tellers, I hold up my hands and they look at the lifeline. Katut in Bali said to me, you have the longest lifeline I have ever seen. You're going to live a long time. So fortune teller says to me, don't know what buddy told you, but you're going past 100 easy. You are really long lifeline. So now I'm thinking about this. I know it's going to be over, clearly. Like I felt being in the box one day. I also told I'm going to be leaving in a long time. Let's just enjoy the ride now. Hey, I'm playing with house money. It's all good. I know I'm not going to go early. So whether that's true or not, I feel comfortable with it. I feel safe with it. And now I just get to enjoy the ride. There's no more pressure. Remember I talked about like I wrote the ending in the middle. So I've kind of accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in life. I'm done. I set goals for myself at 15, 18, 20, 25. They're all done. Every single one of them are done. I am fulfilled. I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish on the earth. Now I just get to enjoy the ride. So what I challenge other people when they tell me, that they're unhappy for any reason and they feel, that they're held back. I said, what if you stop putting pressure on yourself? And what if you just imagine a life that nobody cares? There's no expectations on you whatsoever, and you just get to be. That's how I feel every day. That's why going and disconnecting from the world for 10 days and going to be free in Vipassana, I kind of feel like that every single day already. So that's the challenge at the end of the day. I think ultimately this meaning of life, we have life. Like I've told people many times, I said, you are so unhappy right now. Look at you. You have all the money in the world. You have all the success in the world. And yet you're unhappy. Do you know how many people are in hospital beds right now dying of cancer and all sorts of ailments? They would kill to have your life. They would die to have one day of your life. And you get to live it every single day. Why not enjoy it? That's how I see it.
That's I'm putting like a reflection onto myself, and because there's so many reasons, it's almost like an endless supply of reasons for why I should be unhappy. And it's a lot of it is from that pressure. I need to do this, I need to accomplish that, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, and trying to do it. And I think writing is kind of like a double-edged sword almost for me, because the act of it brings fulfillment, but also it brings expectations within myself. And I find that the more I think I'm in a strange place in life, because I'm starting to realize that a lot of the things that I thought were impossible in my 20s, I'm realizing that it's actually possible. But then now I'm also thinking, is it even worth pursuing these materialistic things? Oh, the career, the house, the cars, all these things that you want to achieve. Is it better to be fulfilled deep down than to so-called be fulfilled just based on what other people would see? I kind of already know the answer to it, but it hasn't like fully been cemented yet.
To me, it's all in perspective, I guess you can say. I think about somebody who's a CEO of a company and they're making $50 million a year with bonuses and all this jazz. They have all the money they'll ever need for their lifetime, their kids' lifetime, their grandkids' lifetime. But there's something about this inner drive to see how far they can take it. It's almost like a personal challenge. When they're saying, I need to release. I need to be able to, I've taken the company this level. I want to take it to this level, that level. They don't need to. They can just keep the company exactly the way it is and the company will function forever until the end of time. But it's having that drive and that passion for something, anything. I always say about materialism and nice things, they're not bad per se. People are like, oh, it's evil, whatever. You know what? It's nice to have a nice chain, whatever. You know what? It's okay. You work hard for it, you enjoy it, go for it. My problem with it is the point when it takes over all your life and all that matters is those nice things, that's a problem. Also, if something happens to those nice things and the person's devastated, that's a problem. When you can love something beautiful and work hard for it and earn it and reward yourself, but then it disappears in a moment and you're okay with that, to me, that's full detachment at that point. You can feel happy in it, but it doesn't make your happiness. It's just there, you know? So to me, there's got to be a balance between materialism, minimalism, you know, detachment, enjoyment. And the problem is, I think for most people is they're one extreme or another. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can, they say you can have your cake and eat it too. Still don't know what that means exactly, but I had my cake, I ate it. I don't really have the cake anymore, but I had my cake. So you could have had your cake and eat it too. How about that? And that's not so bad.
Yeah.
You don't have to long after that cake because guess what? You really love that cake. There's be more cake. You can go bake your own cake. Maybe you'll make a better cake.
Yeah. And to answer, I guess, that question from the very beginning, how do you break free? I think the way that I was able to, I don't know if it would relate in every sense to every person that listens, but I think there was a person one time, similar to how you did that reading, that fortune telling. I had someone do something similar, but it was about like life cycles or past lives, I should say. And this person essentially said that in every past life, you've been a writer. Okay. But she's like, in every single one, you were too afraid to pursue it. She's like, that will continue until you actually are no longer afraid to pursue it. Life will always do something to you that will try to force you to do something else. Whether that's responsibility, family, you know, kids, whatever the case. And I think that's something that I've always known. It was like this inner knowing that, yes, I know something that I'm passionate about and I want to spend my life pursuing it, but I could easily not. I could easily pursue something else, but I will continuously come back and continue doing the same thing unless I actually do it. And it's been very scary to pursue it because it's an endless supply of unknowns, an endless supply of question marks. But the thought of I'm actually going to pursue the thing that I'm passionate about, and I'm going to make it a reality this time around. Not that I remember my past lives, but it's almost like I feel like every other version of me has failed. And so I'm like, I already know what it feels like to fail. Let's see what it feels like to actually do it. And that's like, it took all the walls away. There was no longer a question mark of should I not. It became a question of how.
Well, you were mentioning about Rick Rubin there before, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel very strongly about the band The Doors.
Yes.
And they have that expression, there are things known and things unknown, and in between are the doors.
Mm.
Well, this is going to sound very silly to a lot of people, but I'll have another therapy confession moment here.
Yes, please do.
I was convinced from a very, very young age that I was a reincarnation of Jim Morrison.
Interesting.
Yes, I was like 6 years old, maybe, listening to Sesame Street Live. That was my favorite album, like record player on the record player. Now it is cool, and they had 8 tracks and everything. And Light My Fire came on the radio, and it instantly resonated with me. And as I've done research about the guy, knowing he was a Sagittarius, knowing that he was into yoga, but the spiritual side of things.
Are you a Sagittarius as well?
Yep.
I've been coming into contact with a lot of Sagittarius recently.
We are very spiritual above the waist and very energetic below the waist. That's what they say. But that's a running joke on Sagittarius. Don't know. But I was convinced for a long time, probably still am, that I was a reincarnation of Jim Morrison, simply because that music and his words, his poetry resonated with me completely. I totally get it. So it's very possible that we are reincarnations. And one idea being, if you believe in reincarnation, obviously, is that you get a do-over. You didn't finish something on this earth, and that's why they have to bring you back, or you didn't do it right, so you have to come back again. And I don't know if I'm going to come back. I feel like I'm good now. Like, I'm at peace with it. So Jim left this earth. Like, it's mysterious how he died in Paris. He may very well still be alive with Elvis. But
with Elvis, with Tupac, with
yeah, it's pretty interesting when you read more and more about this kind of stuff. But no, I did ultimately think that I was a reincarnation for sure. And again, that gave me a lot of peace. And this is where I don't want to get too political. We're going to extend the time a little bit on today's podcast, but without getting political about it, is what really, if I'm going to tell you, Kaz, the one thing that bothers me more than anything is when somebody reads a book, reads a magazine, watches TV, listens to the radio, and somebody talks, gives an opinion, and people just take it as gospel, and that's it. And I tell people, you can't be a blind sheep. You can't just, people telling you this is like, oh, it's in a book, it must be true. It's on TV, it's on the news, it must be true.
It's on a TikTok reel, it must be true.
You are listening, you're reading somebody's opinion, ultimately. And what you think is a fact, as reported by somebody, it still could be that person's interpretation. And being able to open your mind and do some research and due diligence and have a different opinion, this is a good thing. One thing that scares me about our world today, we're sitting here in the year 2025, is that for a lot of people, if I don't have the same opinion as you on a subject matter, I hate you. And that's it. And that hate has to go away immediately. We can say, hey, I feel like this. Here's my reasons. I feel like this. Here's my reasons. I didn't think about that. Maybe I'll change my opinion a little bit. Maybe we'll agree to disagree. That's not a bad thing. We don't have to pigeonhole ourselves in categories and thought processes. We're can't be like a slave to our thoughts.
Yeah.
Our thoughts should be fluid, that they can evolve. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So encouraging free thought, free spirit, letting go of expectations, not stressing, be free. Don't be confined. And I feel like being restricted for what society tells us we have to be and what we have to do, that's not always the best route for everybody.
Yeah. And that way of thinking also perpetuates this black and white, two extreme dualities where, like, speaking about therapy throughout these weeks, and again, I'm not like extremely well versed in this, so like don't quote me on this, but I think it's I can't remember the term. Okay, I'll just say this. It's essentially the belief that two extremes can coexist, and both can be true at the same time. Yeah. Right? So it's like, it's not this, black and white spectrum of things and there's nothing in between. It's either you're right or you're wrong.
You think the world is round? I think it's flat. You think there's Martians? I don't. How does that affect anything? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't change how we eat, how we get dressed, how we go to work. It really doesn't.
And if we start worrying about it, it actually makes things worse.
Yeah.
Because then now you're worrying about things that don't matter.
I hear that a lot from doctors where they're saying, people on their deathbeds, and they're saying, wow, I really wish I didn't stress about those things while I was alive.
Yeah.
I wish I could have done it differently. Well, every day is a do-over to say, hey, you know what? I haven't been in the right frame of mind yesterday, the day before, for the last week, the last month, the last year, the last 10 years, whatever it being. Today's a new do-over. I can be positive today. I can let go of all that BS and I can start over. Every day is a new opportunity to live life again. So I tell people, live, man. Just live. Whatever it means. Just live.
You know what? This has been therapy in two ways because I've been carrying a lot of baggage, I think. And especially winter when I self-isolate and I like it, you end up carrying a lot of baggage nonetheless. And what you just said right now, I think kind of like shed some light inside of me because of the fact that every day is a do-over, right? You can wake up tomorrow, you can choose how you want to feel. You can feel not good, but it's up to you if you want to continue feeling that.
I bet you come back on the show in, let's say, 3 months after I've done a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
We're not even going to talk. We'll just stare at each other.
We're all going to meditate for today. But in all seriousness, I think you're going to hear about it. And I think knowing you as your personality, I think you're going to be running for this, buddy. That's my opinion, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see where it goes.
I'll be waiting to hear how it goes.
Kasra, as Kaz with Love. People want to reach you. What's the best way to contact you?
Instagram is Kaswit, WIT, love. You know, there's a funny reason. The Instagram handle was taken, Kaswith.
I figured. But it sounds kind of like,
gives a little
the street edge.
Right?
Yeah.
But then, you can check me on my website. Some writing is on there, the book, any information that you would need, kaswithlove.com.
Keep spreading the love, man. You've been
Thank
awesome.
You. Thank you for having me.
My brother from a different mother. This has been the Chosen Life podcast. Check out Realizations, kaswithlove.com. And we'll be back next week on the Chosen Life podcast.